What do you know about karting? Mario Kart is a very complex series. Each and every game is different yet similar in its mechanics, and its competitive community spans across the last 30 years. As some subpar YouTubers might lead you to believe, the world's most competitive racing game is Trackmania united forever. While that might be true, the world's most competitive racing series is undoubtedly Mario Kart. People have been competing in Mario Kart since the release of the first game, Super Mario Kart, in 1992. Thanks to the game's time trials feature, players could replay a track over and over again until they'd be able to achieve both the fastest lap and course time. In 1997, a few players gathered around two websites, Kevin Booth's players page and then Elon Sparks page. In 1998, the two merged into Booth's page. Simultaneously, Sami Shetin had opened his own website about Super Mario Kart. From 2003 all the way to 2006, the various Mario Kart communities merged into one site, MarioKart64.com, thanks to its current owner, Mark Jones. The players page is a special place, very much has its own vibe to it. Each game has its own page which is unique and touched from the rest of the website, while still remaining somewhat true to its general aesthetic. There are only two things gluing the different games together. First off, the forums, which despite having a section for each game, still share the same account system. Second off, the combined rankings. To understand the combined rankings, we must first understand what average finish means. In each Mario Kart, there are multiple tracks you can race on. This number varies game to game, being as low as 16 or as high as 96. We'll call this number T for total tracks. Then we have our own placements. Every track has its own leaderboard, and you can place differently on each of these. We'll call the sum of these placements P. Your average finish score is your average placement, meaning the formula for your score, S, will be S equals P over T. Now, on the average finish tables, we are ranked using this score right here. For those of you who watched a lot of Mario Kart 64 documentaries, you might have heard of the A1A, Anti-1 Alliance. This was a group of people dedicated to not let Matthias Rustemeyer get an average finish score of 1, meaning holding all the world records at once. The average finish score is fundamental to understanding how the combined rankings score works. Because each game has a different number of players, being in the top 100 of one game is obviously worth less than being in the top 100 of another game, so the admins of the players page came up with a formula to even out the playing field. Taking our average finish score from earlier, we'll indicate that with SY. We'll indicate with SL instead the score of the player ranked last on the average finish table. The logarithm with base 10 of SL over SY will be our combined ranking score for that game. The sum of these scores is our combined ranking score. But why am I telling you all of this? Well, this is me. To put it bluntly, I suck. I always played Mario Kart Wii and a little bit of Mario Kart DS. I recently found a new joy in playing other games in this series, and I set my sights on the peak of this stupid leaderboard. Ahead of me are a lot of people I consider friends, and a lot of people I consider legends. I don't know what my final objective is, nor when I intend to stop, but what I do know is that I really want to see my name displayed near to some of the legends. Now, where do I start from? The choice for the game was rather easy. Issue is, I suck at MKDS. Sunny figure 8 circuit. Nothing could be better than this. After all, both my times suck on this track, there is surely a lot to improve. And quickly improve I did! I started running without any real objective, just trying out the world record combo, Dry Bones on the Rob BLS. The BLS is the best kart in the game for most situations. It's the meta kart, because its top speed is the fastest in the game for a kart, which has boosts last just enough frames to where you can get a second mini turbo within the time of the first one, effectively allowing for infinite boosts. I first closed the run run to get a baseline time to work with, 122.828, the gameplay of which you're looking at right now. I then decided to look up the standards for Figure 8 Circuit. The standards are the system of ranking for each Mario Kart, and their main use is self-improvement. The way they work is that a committee, made up by the most devoted players of each game, early in each game's life cycle, will set down a series of goals for different skill levels to beat on each track. This has led to either standards being way too easy, such as Mario Kart 64, where they then had to expand them with time, creating the unofficial Halford standards, or standards out of anyone's mind, such as Mario Kart Wii, where debates over the validity of the standards have been ongoing for ages. For more info about standards, I suggest you watch Logan's The Quest for Perfection. But what matters to us is that my average rank rating is ass. It's all over the place, spanning from Advanced A to Beginner E. So my objective on Mario Kart DS would be at least getting every time of mine to Advanced, as that is the rating for my best times that are there already. And look at that, I am very close to getting Advanced D, being just shy of a second away. So, what is there to improve for me? Well, first off, look at the lap times, which we call splits. The splits tell a whole story. My lap 3 is much worse than my lap 1, this is because I have a thing called anxiety, and being on a good pace makes my hands shake a lot, making me a lot more error prone. Getting lap 3 on par with even just lap 2 would be good enough to get the time I'm seeking, as that would mean shaving off almost half a second. You see, my errors get amplified when I'm on the last lap. Let me show you. I do a thing called snaking, which is when, on a straight line, I get mini turbos one after another, effectively chaining them, and move right to left and left to right like a snake. And at that, I am fine. I sometimes am too slow or too fast with my timing, but that's just mechanical skill that builds up over time. The main issue is how I take turns. You see, I struggle entering and exiting turns. Sometimes I enter turns too late, sometimes I exit too late. My angle is wrong, I enter too early, I readjust the angle too late, I have momentum in the wrong direction. Noted this, as the time approached 2:45 AM, I went to bed. Psych! Right at 2:45 AM I got this run. A double PB, both flap and 3 lap, getting Advanced D on both categories. So, what did I do? As you can tell from the splits, the PB is carried single-handedly by my lap 1, and the lap just looks fine really. There are no big mistakes. The only notable thing is my shroom cut, where I don't gain that much time. But lap 2 looks decent, up until the last turn. My entry is super wide, I can't go near the grass at all, and lastly... what the fuck is that? What doesn't help is that the turn right after, at the start of lap 3, has an exit which is comparable for how bad it is. That night, I kept on grinding, but nothing really came of it. And I managed to stay up until 4 AM. Honestly, the only reason I really went to bed is because I heard my father waking up. I have found my new setup. So the way I use this is I put my phone inside of the ring light and I have my 3DS out like this, and I just kind of, put the phone through here and I look at the game through here. It's so good. I seemingly can't help but grind deep into the night. It's kind of amusing, isn't it? And let me tell you, this grind session started terribly. It was fail after 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 fail. And then just kinda out of the blue, I get back to back 121.419. This sucks. This sucks ass. This sucks ass so bad. This sucks ass so bad. I swear to God. Followed right away by this run. Lap 1 looks nearly flawless, as it's yet again fast lap PB, beating my former lap time by 0.2 of a second. That's flap. That is flap PB. Lap 2 I seemed to hold it together until the end of the lap, where I began missing the mini turbos exiting the last turn. As this happened, my nerves dropped a little bit. Seeing my ghost catch up to me put me in the mindset that I would not be improving my PB on that run, but I knew it was close regardless, so I just kept on going. I held it together entering lap 3, but my heart began pumping as the lead grew once more, and I messed up the entry to the last turn, going wide and then touching the grass as I over-readjusted my line.
Oh, that's 3 lap PB. That's 3 lap and flap PB. Nice one. This is, by the way, 1:36 AM. Nice one.
With these PBs alone, I skipped Advanced D, placing myself straight into Advanced C, both on 3 lap and flap. And what even is my objective at this point? I already achieved my Advanced D score, and like, do I really need to keep grinding? Here's the thing, I was on the fence on whether to continue to grind or not, because the next rank over is Expert, and despite me seeing Master Leo's Expert guide, I had to take into account that getting Expert E would require me to basically get my flap time for each lap. At 2 PM that same day, once I got enough sleep to actually function as a human being, I decided to once more grind. It wasn't much grinding with the focus of lowering my time, but rather to learn more of what I'm doing. In fact, I began asking Mario Kart DS players for advice, and I got quite a few words of encouragement? To put it bluntly, it was quite discouraging.
Pudding sent a screenshot of MK Dasher saying that the best tip for figure 8 circuit is to not play figure 8 circuit. I must admit that starting the series on figure 8 circuit was a bad idea, because despite it being the first track of MKDS, which is yes the first track on MKDS, but at the same time one of my worst tracks in general, because I hate precision tracks. It's like kind of a suicide for the series.
As I was getting tired of the grind on that day and wanted to actually start work on the video, I was beginning to call to a close my grind session. Ignoring whatever that was, in these last few minutes I began getting this run. During this session I decided to turn off the ghosts, as a discussion with Buddings made me think it might help me deal with my mid-run anxiety, and maybe, just maybe, I might recover a run on the second and third lap and still improve.
Oh, that's flap. I had a terrible lap 1. If this is PB, I'll be deeply disappointed. Terrible. No, it's not PB. This is flap PB though. 352. Wow. What's that? What's that actually? It's, by the way, 240.
That could have been both a 3 lap and flap PB. All I needed was a lap 3 that would have been a 27.0, but I instead choked at every possible point. From missing a few MTs at the start of the lap, to clipping the grass, to missing every MT at the end.
Oh, that's advanced day? That's advanced.
Encouraged by the advanced daytime, on the edge of being Expert E, I kept on grinding, feeling that finally in that grind session I might be getting another PB.
Oh, just close this out. Okay, oh, it's done. Oh no.
This run closed out a almost advanced B. At this point I felt like I was doing everything perfectly, no major mistakes, nothing weird in the run. So what was it? What was the issue? What was holding me off from being expert E? You see, my snaking is not the best. In Mario Kart, yes, you want to be in a mini turbo, also known as MT, for as long as possible. This is because being in an MT pushes your top speed significantly. Usually when you're outside of a boost, your speed is 88 units per frame, but while you're in a boost, your top speed is 109 units per frame. This means that in a mini turbo you go 76% faster. Now, this might sound kinda pointless. How is changing karts going to fix it out of all things? You see, the Egg 1 is ever so slightly slower than the RBLS at 107 units per frame, but its mini turbos last longer. This means that despite going slower overall, I'd be able to squeeze some time solely by being in a mini turbo more often, and the kart switch was promising right away. I began my next session right after receiving those messages, just to test out whether Egg 1 felt worthy or not. And sure enough, in just 30 minutes I had gotten a PB by less than 0.1, meaning that I could already match my skill on the BLS. There is one thing of note about the Egg 1, that being that the endling is higher, meaning that I had to adjust ever so slightly to a tighter turn radius, which kinda screwed with my muscle memory, but frankly it wasn't anything of note.
I hate this. This is not deserved. This is not deserved at all. I absolutely hate this one. Almost didn't even PB. No. This is not a deserved PB. Not at all. Not at all. I'm not proud. This run sucks.
As you can tell though, I was a little frustrated.
So I realized that my old emblem is, well, quite outdated. It's not really outdated as in it's old, but it's outdated as in I would rather change it, given how long I've been using it and how badly drawn it is. So I found this tool right here that lets me import an image and convert it to a grid from Mario Kart. Yes, this is the original image without the grid, and I'm working on it right now.
Oh.
Yes, I did not turn off my 3DS. Yes, I did go AFK for several hours. No, I do not regret it, because after just 3 attempts, after coming back, I got yet another PB, finally placing me in Advanced B, just shy of Advanced A.
This is so close to experty. This is so close to expert. No.
You see, I was saying this despite not even having Advanced A yet, because of 2 factors. First off, I felt entitled to the expert rank. Mostly because I was just half a second away at 125.2. Just look at the splits. One of these laps is at 26.6. The rest are all almost 27s. If I was just consistent enough, this would have been a sub 120. This would have been expert rank. But here's the deal. This run taught me 2 things. Firstly, any mistake is massive. On lap 3, I risked it on the exit to the last turn and ended up lawn mowing, which is, well, I knew that I should have avoided it, but you know. Secondly, the shroom cut I'm doing is ass! See, a mushroom lets you go through off-road with no penalty, meaning you don't slow down, but it doesn't go any faster than a mini turbo, meaning that with this shroom cut, where I barely actually cut through the grass, I'm barely saving any time. See, my shroom cut is so bad that in my flap that got advanced day at 26.330, I decided to gloss over it because I shroomed at the start of the fucking lap and I did not realize how embarrassing this was.
Oh wow. I swear this is a joke.
And yes, I just got scared by my monitors turning off. I hate this game. I'd rather play Mario Kart DS. Even a deluxe is less painful. I'm not even gonna try SSMTs. I'm not a masochist. I took a break for a few days because I was growing tired of figure 8 circuit to the point of hating it, and that led me to play Royal Raceway on Mario Kart 64 because I had the time on it already. It went as good as can be expected. And like, why did that not? And why did that drift? One or three. I'm fine with that. It's so PB pace by all means. What? If that's PB, how is that PB? All of this sucked. 308.58. All of this sucked. There is nothing about this which deserves the name of PB. Nothing about this. And this is gonna end up in the video. This has to end up in the video. That's even worse. That's even worse. I wake up. As you know, I've been staying up late editing the video for a few days now instead of grinding. I get myself breakfast. I go wash some dishes. I feel like playing a bit, but I don't bother with setting up the camera to actually record attempts, as I don't actually expect to get a PB. I haven't played in 4 days, what do you expect? Wait, what? That's all it took? I swear to fucking god I hate this fucking track. There is nothing interesting to it. Nothing, there are 2 turns and that's it. It's so bad it's mind-numbing, to the point that I achieved my goal by playing casually and not even noticing the lap times. And I promise on God that I won't ever come back to this. I promise to God that I will never come back to this. Because this was such a painful grind that most of the time that I spent on this track was not on this track but editing a video about it. I hate it. I hate everything Figure 8 Circuit represents. 2 fucking turns, it's the tutorial track for the game. As tutorial tracks should be, it's easy, but it's way too easy. There is nothing to it, to the point that all it boils down to is 1 shroom cut and taking 2 turns well. There is nothing to analyze about this. There is nothing to talk about on this track. Nothing. Zero. Nada. What's worse is that this came out of nowhere.
Oh, look at those splits! Look at those splits!
I've been speedrunning ever since I was 9. Or at least I've been interested in speedrunning ever since I was 9. And in these 8 years, there is one thing I've learned. And what I've learned is that the grind is grueling. And it wouldn't be called grind otherwise. It wouldn't be called a grind otherwise if it wasn't deteriorating to the person. The same way a bodybuilder lifts weights and strains their muscles and breaks those muscles so that they can regrow stronger. A speedrunner wastes their time trying to understand the issue at hand, the task at hand, confronts themselves with other speedrunners, other people interested, sometimes learns from those people, sometimes learns the hard way. Grinding is grueling, and it's good that it is grueling. But it's not the fun part. The fun part has been, and always will be, getting those goals you are trying to get. And one goal I set for my life is to eventually find a job I like. I've always been a creative person. You know, I've been interested in music, which is the only kind of art I'm actually interested in. I'm not really an artsy person. What I've been interested in most has been computer science, has been speedrunning, has been video making. And the reason why is that they are these weird arts that you cannot really call art because they are not arts in the classical sense, but you're still creating something. You're still creating that final product. You're still seeing your vision come to fruition. Speedrunning is the same as what I've mentioned, because after the grind, you get to that goal. What I hope with this series, which I genuinely hope to continue because it's the most interesting thing I could have ever worked on, is I hope I can depict what speedrunning Mario Kart, my favorite video game series, is like. Now, unluckily, Figure 8 Circuit is something I speedrun in April, and as the month passed, because I stopped editing this video in April and I came back to it in September. As the months passed, I lost what I wanted to say about the track. And the track is so mind-numbing that it's hard to analyze. But from this short speech, I hope that one thing comes across. Never let anyone set your goals for you. Just grind towards your own goals and never stop grinding towards those goals. Grinding will not be fun. It cannot be fun because it is grinding. But nothing will be as satisfactory as getting that final goal. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention that I got 26.146 a few days later, getting XP rank in Flap 2. So, what was all of this worth? I got XP rank in one track. How much did this improve my rankings on the combined ranks? So yeah, that did not improve me a whole ton. I have a long way to go. So I want to kind of speak credit everyone, and I don't remember everything. I haven't anything written down right here, so I'll go off the cuff. I want to thank Jacopo Sorce, Beckham Fungo, and Sami Shetin, because they answered all of the questions I had about the player's page and the history of competitive time trialing, I want to thank Brody from the Mario Kart 64 community, whose surname I never remember because it's goddamn Polish, because he provided me the image of Matthias Rostemeyer, and he also pointed me in the right direction as to who to ask about the history of time trialing. And he's also very outgoing. You'll probably hear about him a few more times in the series. I want to thank the Super Mario Kart community because they gave me access to... I mean, they didn't give me access, but they allowed me to borrow the clips from the championships they held in May, I think. They asked me to provide a link to the championships before they actually happened, but the deadline, I've completely missed it, so you can still find the link in the description. I'm so sorry about that. I want to thank the Mario Kart DS community, of course, because they're very kind, they're outgoing, etc, etc, etc. I'm not good at English. You can find the link to their Discord in the description, but I moreover want to thank two specific players. One is Poinkoza and one is Picalex. Because both of them helped me record clips for this video in HD, because I have technical issues for which I cannot actually record the game in HD. But the rest of the people who actually helped me, you can find them within the video. I screenshotted with consent their messages. If anyone else wants to be mentioned, I'll leave everyone in the description with whatever link you want. I want to thank you all for having watched this video lastly, because it took me way too long to make, and I am surprised that anyone sat through this. I love you tons. Have a great day. Goodbye.